The arrival. The sleek, silver transport ship glided smoothly into the docking bay of the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts, its gleaming hull a stark contrast to the utilitarian surroundings. As the ship's engines powered down with a soft hum, a palpable tension filled the air. Gathered near the exit ramp, a diverse group of alien beings shifted nervously, their eyes fixed on the vessel's airlock. Professor Zixtal, a tall, willowy creature with iridescent skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. As the head of the Academy's xenobiology department, he had been tasked with greeting their newest and most controversial student. His voice, a melodious trill, carried a hint of uncertainty as he addressed the small crowd. Remember, colleagues and students, this is a historic moment. Let us approach it with the scientific curiosity and martial discipline that our esteemed academy is known for. The airlock hissed open, and a figure emerged, silhouetted against the bright interior of the ship. As it stepped into the harsh lighting of the docking bay, gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. Standing before them was a human, but not encased in the protective exosuit many had expected. Instead, the newcomer wore only a simple, form-fitting jumpsuit that did little to hide their muscular physique. Alex Chen, the first human ever admitted to the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts, surveyed the welcoming committee with keen brown eyes. A slight smile played at the corners of their mouth as they took in the array of alien faces, some filled with curiosity, others with barely concealed apprehension. "Greetings," Alex said, their voice clear and confident. "I'm honored to join your esteemed institution." Professor Zixtal blinked rapidly, all 3 of his eyes focusing and refocusing as he processed the sight before him. "Welcome, Alex Chen of Earth. We were not expecting you to disembark without your protective gear. Are you quite all right?" Alex's smile widened. "I'm perfectly fine, Professor. Earth's gravity is about 1.2 times stronger than what you have here. If anything, I feel a bit bouncy." To demonstrate, Alex took a small hop that, to the astonishment of the onlookers, carried them nearly 2 meters into the air. They landed with cat-like grace, barely making a sound on the metal deck. A ripple of alarmed chittering swept through the crowd. One student, a bulky reptilian creature with armored scales, leaned over to his companion and whispered, "By the void, what kind of monster have they let into our academy?" Professor Zixtal quickly regained his composure, his professional demeanor reasserting itself. "Yes, well, we are certainly glad to see you've adapted so quickly to our environment. Now, if you'll follow me, we have much to discuss regarding your curriculum and accommodations." As they walked through the cavernous halls of the academy, Alex couldn't help but notice the wide berth other students gave them. Eyes of every conceivable shape, size, and color tracked their movement, filled with a mix of fear and fascination. "I hope I haven't caused too much of a stir," Alex said, keeping pace easily with the professor's long strides. Zixtal's upper arms made a gesture that might have been a shrug. "Your arrival was always going to be noteworthy, Alex. Humans are still somewhat of an enigma to much of the galactic community. Your species' resilience and adaptability are, quite frankly, unsettling to many." They arrived at a large, circular chamber filled with holographic displays and strange, pulsating crystals. Zixtal gestured for Alex to stand in the center of the room. "This is our assessment chamber," the professor explained. "We use it to gauge the physical and mental capabilities of new students, tailoring their training regimens accordingly. Now, normally this process takes several hours, but given your unique physiology, we may need to make some adjustments." Alex nodded, rolling their shoulders in anticipation. "I'm ready when you are, Professor." Zixtal moved to a control panel and began inputting commands. The air around Alex shimmered, and suddenly they found themselves surrounded by holographic obstacles and targets. "We'll start with a basic reflex and coordination test," Zixtal's voice echoed through the chamber. "Simply evade or strike the targets as they appear. The difficulty will increase gradually." What happened next would be talked about in hushed whispers throughout the academy for cycles to come. Alex moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible for an unaugmented organic being. Holographic projectiles were dodged with millimeter precision, while simulated melee attacks were countered with devastating efficiency. As the difficulty ramped up, so did Alex's performance. They leaped, rolled, and struck with a fluid grace that left the observing alien stunned. What had started as a simple assessment quickly turned into a mesmerizing display of human capability. After 15 minutes of increasingly frantic activity, Zixel's shaky voice came over the intercom. That's enough. Alex, please, stand down." The holograms faded, leaving Alex standing in the center of the room, barely even breathing hard. They looked up at the observation window where Zixtal and a group of other instructors stood, mouths agape. "How did I do?" Alex asked, a hint of genuine curiosity in their voice. One of the other instructors, a being that looked like a cross between an octopus and a crystal formation, waved a tentacle over a holographic readout. Its voice was a series of clicks and whistles that the translator rendered into standard galactic. "Impossible. Simply impossible. These readings suggest performance levels that exceed our most elite warrior species, and you claim to be unaugmented." Alex nodded. "Completely natural, I assure you. This is just the result of Earth's conditions and human adaptability. We evolved to persist, to endure. It's kind of our thing." The crystalline alien's colors shifted rapidly, a sign of intense emotion. But the forces involved, the reaction times, no single species should be capable of this without technological assistance. Zixtal held up a hand to quiet his colleague. "What my esteemed associate means to say, Alex, is that your performance is unprecedented. We may need to reevaluate our entire curriculum to accommodate your capabilities." Alex's expression turned serious. "I hope this doesn't mean you're reconsidering my admission, Professor. I came here to learn, not to show off. There's so much knowledge and experience within these walls. I want to absorb it all, to understand how other species approach combat and survival." The sincerity in Alex's voice seemed to ease some of the tension in the room. Zixtal's posture relaxed slightly, and he even managed a small smile. "No, Alex, your place here is not in question. But I believe we will all be learning from each other during your stay. Now let me show you to your quarters. I imagine you'll want to rest before your first class tomorrow." As they left the assessment chamber, news of Alex's performance was already spreading through the academy like wildfire. Students gathered in small groups, excitedly sharing snippets of information and wild speculation. "I heard the human moved faster than a Zorlak striker. Someone in the medbay said their bone density is off the charts, like denser than Krivak's battle steel. Do you think it's true what they say about Earth? That it's some kind of death world that breeds living weapons?" Amidst the buzz of conversation, one voice cut through the chatter. It belonged to Krolvax, a senior student from a species renowned for their martial prowess. "Don't be fooled by parlor tricks and exaggerated tales," Krolvax growled, his barbed exoskeleton bristling. "This human may have some physical advantages, but combat is about more than brute strength and speed. We'll see how they fare when real skill and strategy come into play." His words found agreeing nods among some of the more competitive students. The arrival of a human had shaken the established order, and not everyone was thrilled about it. Meanwhile, in a small, spartanly furnished room deep within the academy, Alex sat on the edge of a bed clearly designed for a very different body type. They pulled out a small holographic communicator and activated it. The smiling face of an older human woman appeared. "Hi, Mom," Alex said, their voice softer now, tinged with a hint of weariness. "Alex, how was your first day? Are you settling in okay?" Alex chuckled. "It's been interesting. I think I scared them a little during the initial assessment. They weren't expecting me to be quite so human." Their mother's face creased with concern. "You're being careful, right? I know you want to prove yourself, but remember why you're there. This isn't just about you. I know, Mom. Trust me, I haven't forgotten. This is our chance to show the galaxy that humans aren't just some upstart species to be feared or dismissed. We have so much to offer, so much to learn. I won't let you down." As Alex signed off and prepared for bed, they couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension about what the coming days would bring. They had made quite an entrance, but the real challenges were yet to come. In a school filled with the galaxy's most dangerous species, all training to become elite warriors, Alex knew that raw physical ability would only take them so far. Tomorrow, the real test would begin. And Alex Chen, representative of humanity, was determined to show the galaxy exactly what their species was capable of. First challenges. The artificial dawn of the Galactic Academy cast a pale blue light across Alex Chen's quarters, rousing the human from a fitful sleep. Despite the lower gravity, Alex's body felt heavy with the weight of anticipation. Today marked the true beginning of their journey at this prestigious institution, and they were determined to make a strong impression. After a quick breakfast of nutrient paste, apparently, the Academy's culinary eye was still adapting to human dietary needs. Alex made their way to the main training arena. The cavernous space was already buzzing with activity, filled with students of various species engaged in warm-up exercises that defied human understanding of physiology. Professor Zixtel stood at the center of the arena, his iridescent skin shimmering as he addressed the gathered students. Today we begin with basic combat forms. Each species has their own unique strengths and weaknesses, but the principles of balance, timing, and spatial awareness are universal. Pair up with someone of a different species than your own. Observe, adapt, and learn. As the students began to pair off, Alex noticed a conspicuous bubble of empty space around them. The other students seemed hesitant to approach, whether out of fear or uncertainty. Just as Alex was beginning to feel like an outcast, a voice broke through the tension. "You, human, you'll pair with me." Alex turned to see Kralvax, the senior student who had spoken out against them the day before. The alien's exoskeleton gleamed wickedly in the arena's harsh light, barbs and spines shifting with each movement. "I'm Alex," they said, extending a hand in greeting. "Looking forward to training with you." Kralvax ignored the outstretched hand, instead moving into a fighting stance. "Let's see if your performance yesterday was more than just luck and novelty. Attack me." Alex hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They settled into a basic boxing stance, hands raised to protect their face. With a burst of speed that surprised even Kralvax, Alex closed the distance and threw a quick jab. The alien's reflexes were impressive. A armored limb deflected the punch, and Kralvax countered with a sweeping low kick. Alex leaped over the attack, using the reduced gravity to their advantage, and landed a light tap on Kralvax's shoulder. "Point," Alex said with a small smile. Kralvax's eyes narrowed. Beginner's luck. Again. What followed was a dizzying exchange of blows, feints, and counters. Alex's human reflexes and adaptability allowed them to avoid most of Kralvax's attacks, while the alien's armored body deflected many of Alex's strikes. It was a stalemate of sorts, but one that was drawing attention from around the arena. Professor Zixtel glided over, his multiple eyes widening as he observed the sparring match. "Fascinating," he murmured. "Kralvax, Alex, please demonstrate that sequence for the class." The two combatants separated, both breathing heavily. Alex noticed with a mix of pride and concern that Kralvax seemed more winded than they were. "Now," Zixtel continued, addressing the entire class, "observe the interplay of different physiologies. Kralvax's species evolved natural armor and defensive spines, making them formidable close-quarters fighters. Humans, on the other hand, developed extreme endurance and adaptability. Neither has a clear advantage, forcing both to innovate and adapt mid-combat." As the professor spoke, Alex could feel the mood in the arena shifting. The fear and apprehension were still there, but now tinged with curiosity and even a hint of respect. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of physical challenges. Tests of strength, speed, and agility pushed Alex to their limits. While they excelled in endurance and flexibility, some of the alien students displayed abilities that seemed to defy physics. A gelatinous being could alter its body density at will, while another student could generate localized gravitational fields. By the time the lunch break arrived, Alex was drenched in sweat but exhilarated. As they made their way to the nutrition center, a small group of alien students tentatively approached. "That was impressive," chittered a insectoid being, its mandibles clicking nervously. "I'm Zixtick. We were wondering, how do humans train on your world?" Alex smiled, grateful for the friendly overture. "Well, Earth's gravity is a bit stronger, so that gives us an edge here. But mostly, we just never stop pushing ourselves. Our history is full of examples of humans achieving the seemingly impossible through sheer determination." As Alex shared stories of human achievements, climbing Mount Everest, running ultramarathons, free-diving to extreme depths, the alien students listened with a mix of awe and disbelief. Their conversation was interrupted by a sharp tone, signaling the start of afternoon classes. The next session promised to be even more challenging: tactical simulations. The simulation chamber was a marvel of holographic technology, capable of recreating any environment with startling realism. Professor Zixtel's voice echoed through the room as the students took their positions. "Today's scenario: hostile territory extraction. Your team has been dropped behind enemy lines. Your mission is to locate and retrieve a high-value target, then reach the extraction point. The environment will be randomized, as will the opposition forces. Work together, adapt, and survive." The air shimmered, and suddenly Alex found themselves in a dense alien jungle. The humidity was oppressive and strange. Bioluminescent plants cast an eerie glow over everything. Beside them stood Zixtick and two other students, a reptilian being named Solar and a floating gas-bag-like creature called Puff. "Right," Alex said, taking charge instinctively. "Zixtick, your sensory abilities might help us locate the target. Solar, take point. Your armored hide will offer some protection if we run into trouble. Puff, if you can float above the canopy without being seen, you could be our eyes in the sky. I'll watch our backs." The alien students looked at Alex with a mixture of surprise and respect. They hadn't expected the human to grasp their abilities so quickly or to formulate a coherent plan. As they moved through the holographic jungle, Alex's ears picked up the faint sound of movement to their left. Without a word, they tapped Solar on the shoulder and gestured in that direction. The reptilian nodded, its scales shifting color to blend with the surroundings. Moments later, a group of holographic enemies burst from the underbrush, weapons raised. The team reacted instantly. Solar's tough hide deflected the initial barrage, while Zixtick used its multiple limbs to disarm two opponents simultaneously. Puff descended from above, engulfing one enemy in a disorienting cloud of gas. Alex moved with fluid grace, disarming one attacker and using their weapon against another. The skirmish was over in seconds, leaving the holographic enemies disabled on the ground. "Efficient," came Professor Zixtel's voice, tinged with what might have been approval. "But remember, stealth is often preferable to direct confrontation. Proceed to the objective." The rest of the simulation played out like a tense game of cat and mouse. The team used their diverse abilities to overcome obstacles, avoid patrols, and finally locate the target, a holographic data core hidden in an enemy stronghold. It was during the extraction that things got complicated. As they neared the pickup point, with Alex carrying the data core, they found their path blocked by a sheer cliff face. "We'll never make it up there in time," Solar hissed, eyeing the approaching enemy reinforcements. Alex looked at the cliff, then at their team. A plan formed in their mind, born of that uniquely human ability to think outside the box. "Puff," they said quickly, How much weight can you lift when fully inflated? The gas bag alien pulsed with confusion. Approximately 3 times my mass. Why? Alex grinned. Perfect. Here's what we're going to do. Minutes later, as the enemy forces closed in, they'd witnessed a bizarre sight. A fully inflated puff, straining against its own buoyancy, lifted Alex and the data core into the air. Zixtic clung to Alex's back, its sharp limbs providing an anchor, while Schler used its powerful legs to leap from outcropping to outcropping alongside them. It was unconventional, dangerous, and looked utterly ridiculous. But it worked. The team crested the cliff just as the simulation ended, depositing them back in the blank training room. Professor Zixtel stood before them, all 3 of his eyes wide with astonishment. In all my cycles teaching this course, he said slowly, I have never seen a solution quite like that. Unorthodox, certainly. Risky, absolutely. But undeniably effective. He turned to address the entire class. This, students, is why we have welcomed our first human to the Academy. Their ability to innovate, to find unexpected solutions, is something we can all learn from. As the class dispersed, buzzing with excitement over the day's events, Alex felt a tap on their shoulder. It was Kralvax. Your performance was adequate, the armored alien said stiffly. Perhaps there is more to your species than simple physical prowess. Coming from Kralvax, it was high praise indeed. Alex nodded in acknowledgement, knowing that they had taken the first steps towards earning respect at the Academy. As they headed back to their quarters, exhausted but exhilarated, Alex couldn't help but smile. They had faced their first real challenges at the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts and had not only survived but thrived. But this was just the beginning. Greater tests lay ahead, and Alex Chen, representative of humanity, was ready to face them head-on. Rising tensions. Weeks passed at the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts, and Alex Chen's presence continued to cause ripples throughout the student body. What had started as fear and suspicion was slowly transforming into a complex mix of admiration, curiosity, and for some, resentment. Alex's daily routine had settled into a grueling rhythm. Mornings were devoted to physical training, pushing the limits of their human body in the Academy's reduced gravity. Afternoons were filled with tactical simulations and strategy classes, where Alex's unconventional thinking often led to surprising victories. Evenings were spent in the xenobiology labs, learning about the diverse physiologies of their alien classmates. It was during one of these evening sessions that Alex found themselves working alongside Zixtic, the insectoid student who had become something of a friend. I still don't understand, Zixtic chittered, mandibles clicking in confusion. How can your species survive with only 2 arms? The inefficiency is staggering. Alex chuckled, flexing their fingers. We manage. Besides, our hands are pretty versatile. Here, let me show you something. With quick, deft movements, Alex's fingers danced through a series of complex gestures. It was a simple sleight-of-hand trick, making a small holoprojector disappear and reappear between their palms. Zixtic's compound eyes widened in amazement. Extraordinary. Such fine motor control. No wonder your species excels at tool use. From across the lab, a gravelly voice interrupted their conversation. Tools and tricks. Is that all humans are good for? Alex turned to see Kralvax looming over their workstation. The senior student's exoskeleton seemed to bristle with barely contained aggression. We're good at a lot of things, Kralvax, Alex replied calmly, including making friends. Care to join us? We were just discussing comparative anatomy. Kralvax's eyes narrowed. I've seen enough of your anatomy in combat class. Always dodging, always slipping away. When will you face a challenge head-on, human? Before Alex could respond, the lab's main screen flickered to life. Professor Zixtel's face appeared, his expression grave. Attention, students. Tomorrow's training regimen has been altered. In light of recent Developments. The faculty has decided to implement a series of advanced combat trials. These tests will push you beyond your limits and help us assess your true potential. Rest well. You'll need it. As the screen went dark, a buzz of excited and nervous chatter filled the lab. Alex felt a knot form in their stomach. They had been excelling in their classes, true, but advanced combat trials sounded ominous. Krolvax's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smirk. Well, human. It seems you'll get your chance to prove yourself after all. Try not to embarrass your species. As the armored alien stalked away, Zixtik turned to Alex, concern evident in their posture. This is unusual. Advanced trials are typically reserved for final-year students. I fear some of the faculty may be pushing back against your success. Alex nodded, their jaw set with determination. Then we'll just have to show them that humans can handle whatever they throw at us. Come on, let's get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. The next morning, the entire student body assembled in the academy's largest arena. The usual training equipment had been cleared away, replaced by a series of ominous-looking machines and holographic projectors. Professor Zixtel stood at the center, flanked by several other instructors. His voice carried across the hushed crowd. Students, today's trials will test not just your physical abilities, but your mental fortitude, adaptability, and teamwork. You will be pushed to your limits and beyond. Remember, a true warrior knows not only how to fight, but when to retreat, when to adapt, and when to rely on others. His eyes seemed to linger on Alex for a moment before continuing. The trials are voluntary. There is no shame in recognizing your limits. Who will be the first to step forward? There was a moment of tense silence. Then, with a confidence that belied their inner nerves, Alex stepped into the center of the arena. I'll go first, Professor. A murmur ran through the crowd. Zixtal nodded, a flicker of what might have been concern crossing his features. Very well, Alex Chen of Earth. Prepare yourself. The first trial was a test of pure physical endurance. Alex found themselves on a gravitational treadmill, its surface shifting and changing to simulate different terrains. As they ran, the gravity increased incrementally, soon surpassing even Earth normal. Sweat poured down Alex's face as they pushed through the pain, their muscles screaming in protest. They could hear the astonished whispers of their classmates as the trial stretched on, far beyond what most species could endure. Enough, Zixtal finally called, and the treadmill slowed to a stop. Alex stumbled off, breathing heavily but still standing. Impressive, the professor noted, but this was merely the warm-up. What followed was a gauntlet of challenges that tested every aspect of Alex's abilities, reaction tests that pushed the limits of human reflexes, puzzle solving under extreme stress conditions, combat simulations against opponents that seemed to adapt and learn with each exchange. Through it all, Alex persevered. They didn't win every challenge. Some of the puzzles designed for alien minds left them baffled, and a few of the combat scenarios overwhelmed even their quick reflexes. But they never gave up, never stopped trying, and always looked for unconventional solutions. It was during a particularly grueling team exercise that things came to a head. Alex found themselves paired with Krolvax, facing off against a swarm of holographic enemies that seemed to anticipate their every move. "This is hopeless," Krolvax growled, his armored back pressed against Alex's as they were surrounded. "Your human tricks won't save us here." Alex's mind raced, taking in the environment, the behavior of the holograms, the capabilities of their unlikely partner. Then, a spark of inspiration hit. "Krolvax, your exoskeleton. Can you generate an electromagnetic pulse?" The alien's eyes widened in surprise. "Yes, but it leaves me vulnerable for several seconds afterward." "Why?" "Trust me," Alex said, a plan forming. "On my mark, generate the biggest pulse you can. I'll cover you." For a moment, Krolvax hesitated. Then, with a curt nod, he began to vibrate, his exoskeleton humming with building energy. "Now." Alex shouted, and the world exploded into chaos. The electromagnetic pulse short-circuited the holographic projectors, causing the swarm of enemies to flicker and distort. In that moment of confusion, Alex moved with lightning speed. They positioned themselves in front of the momentarily vulnerable Krulvax, using a fallen enemy's weapon to deflect incoming attacks. As the holograms stabilized, they found themselves facing a united front. Alex's speed and adaptability complemented Krulvax's raw power and natural armor perfectly. Together, they tore through the remaining enemies with ruthless efficiency. As the last hologram fell and the simulation ended, Alex turned to Krulvax with a grin. "Not bad for a human trick, huh?" To Alex's surprise, Krulvax let out a rumbling sound that might have been a laugh. "Perhaps there is something to be said for your species' unconventional thinking after all, human." Their moment of camaraderie was interrupted by slow, deliberate applause. Professor Zixtal approached, his expression unreadable. An innovative solution and an impressive display of interspecies cooperation. "It seems we may have underestimated you, Alex Chen." But as Alex basked in the glow of success, they couldn't help but notice the dark looks being exchanged by some of the other instructors. It was clear that not everyone was thrilled by the humans' continued success. As the students filed out of the arena, exhausted but exhilarated, Alex overheard snippets of conversation that made their blood run cold. "This is unacceptable. The human is disrupting the entire balance of the academy. Perhaps it's time we arranged a more permanent solution to this problem. The Omega Protocol might be our only option." Alex didn't know what the Omega Protocol was, but the ominous tone left little doubt that they were facing a threat far greater than any holographic enemy. As they headed back to their quarters, mind racing with possibilities, one thing was clear. The real test was yet to come, and the stakes were higher than ever. The ultimate trial. The days following the advanced combat trials were tense for Alex Chen. While they had earned the respect of many of their fellow students, including the once hostile Krulvax, there was an undercurrent of unease that permeated the academy. Whispered conversations would stop abruptly when Alex entered a room, and some of the instructors regarded them with a mix of fear and calculation in their alien eyes. It was Zixtal who finally approached Alex with concrete information. The insectoid students' antennae quivered with anxiety as they spoke in hushed tones. "Alex, I've heard rumors. The Omega Protocol they mentioned. It's not just a test. It's a way to remove students deemed too dangerous or disruptive to the academy's balance." Alex's blood ran cold. "Remove? You mean?" Zixtal's mandibles clicked nervously. "Not necessarily fatal, but permanent. Exile, memory wiping, sometimes cryostasis. Alex, you need to be careful. Your success here has made some powerful individuals very uncomfortable." Before Alex could respond, the academy-wide communication system crackled to life. Professor Zixtal's voice, usually so measured, held a note of tension. "Attention all students and faculty. By order of the Academy Council, all regular classes are suspended for the next solar cycle. Instead, we will be conducting a special, extended survival exercise. All students are to report to the main hangar in 1 hour, prepared for off-world deployment. Attendance is mandatory." As the announcement ended, the hallways erupted into a buzz of excited and nervous chatter. Alex and Zixtal exchanged a meaningful look. This was it, the Omega Protocol, disguised as a training exercise. An hour later, Alex stood in the cavernous main hangar, surrounded by their alien classmates. Many looked excited at the prospect of a real-world training mission. Others, those who had befriended Alex over the past weeks, seemed wary and on edge. Professor Zixtal strode to the front of the assembled students, his iridescent skin shimmering under the harsh hangar lights. "Students, you are about to embark on the most challenging test of your academic careers. You will be transported to Nexus 9, a planet known for its harsh and ever-changing environments. Your task is simple. Survive for 5 planetary rotations and make your way to the extraction point." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. "You will be divided into teams, each dropped at a different location on the planet's surface. The environment will test you in ways you cannot imagine. Trust in your training, in each other, and in yourselves." As Zixtel began calling out team assignments, Alex felt a mix of relief and apprehension. They were grouped with Kralvax, Zixtik, and Puff, a team of individuals who had, over time, come to respect and even like the human. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this was all too convenient. As they boarded the transport ship, Kralvax leaned in close, his voice a low rumble. "Watch yourself, human. This isn't just a test for you. It's a test for all of us. Some here would see you fail, even if it means sacrificing the rest of the team." Alex nodded grimly. "Then we'll just have to watch each other's backs, won't we?" The journey to Nexus 9 was tense and silent. Each team was equipped with basic survival gear, but nothing that would make the challenge too easy. As their drop pod plummeted through the planet's turbulent atmosphere, Alex ran through everything they had learned about survival in alien environments. The impact was jarring, even with inertial dampeners. As the pod's door hissed open, the team got their first look at the world that would be their testing ground for the next 5 rotations. Nexus 9 was a nightmare of a planet. The sky boiled with angry, purplish clouds that occasionally rained a caustic liquid. The terrain was a patchwork of environments. Here a stretch of crystalline desert, there a forest of writhing, carnivorous plants. In the distance, mountains belched plumes of multicolored gases into the atmosphere. By the void, Puff wheezed, their gas-bag body undulating with stress. "This place is trying to kill us." "That's rather the point," Kralvax growled. "Stay alert. We need to find shelter and assess our resources." As the team cautiously made their way across the alien landscape, Alex's mind was working overtime. This wasn't just about survival. It was a test of their problem-solving abilities, their teamwork, and their individual strengths. The first real challenge came as they approached what looked like a suitable cave for shelter. Without warning, the ground beneath their feet began to liquefy, quickly becoming a sucking morass that threatened to pull them under. "Quicksand!" Alex shouted, memories of old Earth adventure stories flashing through their mind. "Don't struggle. Spread your weight." Kralvax, the heaviest of the group, was sinking fast. Without hesitation, Alex uncoiled a length of cable from their pack. "Puff, inflate to maximum buoyancy and grab this." "Zixtik, use your extra limbs to distribute your weight and help pull." What followed was a desperate, coordinated effort. Puff, bobbing above the liquefying ground, provided an anchor point. Zixtik's multiple limbs gave them unprecedented mobility in the treacherous terrain. And Alex, drawing on their knowledge of physics and leverage, coordinated the rescue. As they finally dragged a panting Kralvax onto solid ground, the armored alien fixed Alex with a penetrating stare. You could have left me. Increased your own chances of survival." Alex shook their head, helping to brush the clinging pseudosand from Kralvax's exoskeleton. "That's not how humans operate. We're stronger together." The next few planetary rotations were a blur of challenges, each more daunting than the last. They faced acid rainstorms that forced them to create improvised protective gear. Carnivorous plants tested their combat skills and reflexes. Hallucinogenic spores required them to rely on each other when their senses couldn't be trusted. Through it all, Alex's quick thinking and adaptability proved invaluable. They taught the team how to create water condensers using materials from their environment, showed them Earth survival techniques that worked surprisingly well on alien worlds, and constantly came up with unconventional solutions to the planet's deadly puzzles. But as they neared the extraction point on the final rotation, it became clear that their trials were far from over. The path to their salvation was blocked by a massive chasm, filled with swirling, superheated gases, and they weren't alone. Other teams had arrived, looking haggard and desperate. Among them were faces that Alex recognized as being particularly hostile to their presence at the academy. As the groups converged, tension crackled in the air like static electricity. One of the alien students, a serpentine creature named Slith, slithered forward. Well, if it isn't the human and its pet team. Survived this long, have you? Pity. We were hoping Nexus 9 would solve our little problem. Krulvax bristled, his exoskeleton extending sharp spines. Watch your words, Slith. The human has more than proven their worth. Slith's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Perhaps, but there's only room for one team on the extraction shuttle, and I think we all know who the Academy would prefer to see return. The standoff was interrupted by a deafening roar. From the chasm rose a colossal creature, its body a nightmare fusion of gas and solid matter. Tentacles of superheated plasma lashed out, vaporizing the ground where they struck. Impossible. Zixtik chittered in terror. The reports never mentioned megafauna. As chaos erupted and the other teams scattered, Alex's mind raced. They took in the creature's composition, the environment, the resources at hand. A plan, crazy and desperate, began to form. Everyone, listen up. Alex shouted above the din. We can beat this thing, but I need every one of you, not just our team. Everyone. This isn't about passing a test anymore. It's about survival. To the astonishment of the other aliens, Alex began rapidly outlining a plan that sounded nothing short of insane. It involved using Puff's buoyancy, Zixtik's silk spinning abilities, Krulvax's electromagnetic pulse, and a dozen other species-specific traits in a complex, coordinated assault. This is madness, Slith hissed. Why should we trust you? Alex met the alien's gaze steadily. Because right now, I'm not a human, and you're not whatever species you are. We're all just people trying to survive. And we can, but only together. For a moment, the chasm's edge was silent save for the roars of the approaching monster. Then, slowly, nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. As the colossal creature bore down upon them, a plan born of human ingenuity and alien diversity sprang into action. What followed was a battle that would be talked about in the Academy for generations to come. Puff and other buoyant species created an aerial distraction. Zixtik and similar beings wove a complex web of ultra-strong silk. Energy-manipulating aliens worked in concert to disrupt the creature's plasma fields. And at the center of it all was Alex, coordinating, adapting, pushing everyone to limits they didn't know they had. In the end, it was Krulvax who delivered the final blow, his electromagnetic pulse destabilizing the creature's core. As it fell, collapsing back into the chasm with an earth-shaking roar, a stunned silence fell over the assembled students. They had done it. Not as separate species, not as competing teams, but as a unified force. As the extraction shuttle descended through Nexus 9's turbulent atmosphere, Alex looked around at the faces of their fellow students, aliens who had begun this trial as rivals or even enemies. Now there was a newfound respect in their eyes, a sense of camaraderie forged in the fires of shared adversity. Whatever the original intent of the Omega Protocol had been, its result was clear. Alex Chen had not just survived, they had thrived, and in doing so, had changed the very nature of the test itself. As they boarded the shuttle, exhausted but triumphant, Alex couldn't help but wonder, what would be waiting for them back at the Academy? Had they truly proven themselves, or were there still greater challenges to come? The shuttle's engines roared to life, lifting them away from the deadly surface of Nexus 9. As the planet receded beneath them, one thing was certain. Nothing at the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts would ever be the same again. Triumph and understanding. The return journey to the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts was a stark contrast to the tense silence that had preceded the Nexus 9 trial. The extraction shuttle buzzed with excited chatter, adrenaline-fueled laughter, and the kind of camaraderie that can only be forged through shared adversity. At the center of it all sat Alex Chen, exhausted but triumphant, fielding questions and congratulations from aliens of all species. As the shuttle docked in the Academy's main hangar, Alex couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension. They had survived the Omega Protocol, yes, but what would be the consequences of so thoroughly upending the Academy's expectations? The answer came swiftly. As the students disembarked, they found the hangar filled not just with medical staff and concerned instructors, but with a delegation of high-ranking officials from various galactic powers. At their head stood Professor Zixtal, his iridescent skin flickering with barely contained emotion. "Students," he began, his voice carrying a weight of authority that silenced the excited murmurs, "what you have just experienced was more than a mere survival exercise. It was a test of character, of adaptability, and of the very principles upon which this academy was founded." His gaze swept across the assembled students before settling on Alex. "Some among our faculty believe that the introduction of a human to our ranks would disrupt the delicate balance we have cultivated here. The Omega Protocol was designed, in part, to prove that point." A ripple of shocked whispers ran through the crowd. Alex felt Kralvax tense beside them, but a subtle shake of the human's head kept the armored alien in check. Zixtal continued, "What we witnessed instead was something truly remarkable. Not only did the human, Alex Chen, survive against all expectations, but they fundamentally changed the nature of the trial itself." One of the galactic officials, a being composed of shimmering energy contained within a translucent exosuit, floated forward. "Our observation drones recorded everything. Never in the history of the Omega Protocol have we seen such a display of interspecies cooperation. It was inspiring." Alex stepped forward, their voice steady despite their exhaustion. "With all due respect, it wasn't just me. Every single student here played a crucial role. We succeeded because we worked together, leveraging our diverse strengths and overcoming our individual weaknesses. The energy beings form pulsed with what might have been approval." "Precisely. And that, young human, is why we are here today. Your actions have forced us to reconsider many of our preconceptions about your species." What followed was a detailed debriefing of the Nexus 9 trial. Alex and the other students recounted their experiences, with particular focus on the final battle against the megaphonic creature. As they spoke, holographic displays showed key moments from the observation drone's footage. The gathered officials watched with rapt attention as Alex's quick thinking and leadership united the disparate groups of aliens into a cohesive team. They marveled at the human's ability to identify and utilize the unique strengths of each species, creating strategies that no single race could have devised alone. As the debriefing concluded, Professor Zixtal stepped forward once more. "In light of these events, the Academy Council, in conjunction with the Galactic Oversight Committee, has reached a decision. The Galactic Academy of Combat Arts will not only continue to accept human students, but will actively seek to increase cooperation and exchange programs with Earth." The announcement was met with a mix of cheers and stunned silence. Alex felt a wave of relief wash over them, followed quickly by a sense of immense responsibility. Zixtal wasn't finished. "Furthermore, we will be implementing a new curriculum based on the principles of adaptive problem-solving and interspecies cooperation demonstrated during this trial. Alex Chen, in recognition of your exceptional performance and leadership, you are being offered a position as a special instructor for this new program." Alex's jaw dropped. I'm honored, Professor, but I'm still a student myself. I have so much to learn from all of you." The energy being chimed in, its voice a harmonious resonance. "That, young human, is precisely why you are perfect for this role. Your capacity for learning, for adapting, and for teaching others to do the same is unparalleled. You will continue your studies, yes, but you will also help shape the future of this academy and perhaps of galactic society itself." As the implications of this new reality sank in, Alex felt a hand on their shoulder. It was Kralvax, his usually stern features softened with something approaching respect. "Well, human," the armored alien rumbled, It seems you've managed to turn the entire academy on its head. I suspect things are going to get very interesting around here." Alex couldn't help but grin. Isn't that what humans do best? Keep things interesting. In the days that followed, the academy buzzed with activity as the new curriculum was rapidly developed and implemented. Alex found themselves at the heart of it all, working alongside instructors they had once feared to create training programs that challenged students in entirely new ways. The combat simulations now emphasized creative problem-solving and teamwork over brute force or individual prowess. Xenobiology classes delved deeper into the potential synergies between different species' abilities. Even the Academy's approach to technology changed, focusing on adaptability and user-centric design that could benefit a wide range of physiologies. As for Alex's fellow students, the shared ordeal of Nexus 9 had forged bonds that transcended species. Kralvax, once Alex's fiercest rival, became one of their staunchest allies, often serving as a bridge between human ideas and more traditional alien perspectives. Zixtik's analytical mind proved invaluable in translating Alex's intuitive approaches into teachable methodologies. And Puff, with their unique perspective as a gas-bag entity, constantly challenged everyone to think quite literally outside the box. One evening, as Alex stood on one of the Academy's observation decks, watching the unfamiliar stars of this alien sky, they were joined by Professor Zixtal. "Credit for your thoughts, Instructor Chen," the alien asked, his tone warm with a fondness that had developed over the past weeks. Alex smiled, still not entirely used to the new title. "I was just thinking about how far we've come. When I first arrived here, I was seen as a potential threat, a disruption. Now you are seen as the catalyst for a new era of galactic cooperation," Zixtal finished. "Your presence here has reminded us all of a fundamental truth we had perhaps forgotten, that diversity, when embraced, is our greatest strength." Alex nodded, their gaze returning to the stars. "There's so much out there, Professor. So many worlds, so many species, each with their own unique perspectives and abilities. Imagine what we could accomplish if we all worked together, not just in times of crisis, but always." Zixtal's skin shimmered with agreement. "Indeed. And thanks to you, Alex Chen, we are taking the first steps on that journey. The students you are helping to train today will be the leaders of tomorrow, carrying these lessons of cooperation and adaptability to every corner of the galaxy." As they stood there in companionable silence, Alex felt a profound sense of purpose settle over them. They had come to the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts to prove that humans could stand alongside the most formidable species in the cosmos. In the end, they had done so much more. They had shown that the true strength of humanity, and indeed, of all sentient beings, lay not in physical prowess or advanced technology, but in the ability to unite, to adapt, and to see the potential in every challenge. The stars twinkled in the alien sky, each one a promise of new adventures, new challenges, and new opportunities for understanding. And at the Galactic Academy of Combat Arts, a human named Alex Chen stood ready to face them all, not alone, but hand in hand, or claw, or tentacle, with beings from across the cosmos, united in their wonderful diversity.